Hi everybody, this is Marissa with Adobe Photoshop for Beginners, lesson number 3. So the first thing I'd like you to do is go to the link below and click on it to go to my website, and let's open up the 3 files that I have for this lesson. So lesson number 3, what we're going to do is basic layers, basic brushes, and spot healing brush. And when I talk about basic layers, it's the very, very, very beginning. It's so basic. But I don't want to overwhelm you with all the layers in one movie. I'd like to do it slowly so you can get used to and understand it more in depth. Now, in order to download these files, all you need to do is go and right-click on the mouse and go to download. Do all 3 of them, and let's go and open Photoshop while they're downloading. Once in Photoshop, the first thing I'd like to do is get us all onto the same interface. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, please go to lesson number 1. It's very simple and you'll know how to do it. So for those who know, go to Window, Workspace. Mine is called Lesson, and I'm just going to do Reset Lessons. And everything will be as I left it 2 lessons back. I'm just going to go to the Move tool because I like to start off with that. I'm going to go to File, Open, and I'm going to open up the couple, the Venice, the one that's called Venice. Okay, so what I'd like to do is first unlock the layer. Now you will notice that it's in the layer window. And by the way, if for some reason you can't find your layer window, all you need to do is go up to Window and Layers or F7 and you will get it. I'd like to first unlock the lock and call this Venice. So I clicked on the unlock and double clicked on layer 0 and I'm calling it Venice. Once I've got that, I can either click on the layer itself or click outside the layer, and this will be accepted. At the moment, nothing is selected, but what I do want to do is I would like to duplicate the layer that's called Venice. There are 2 ways that I'm going to show you today. The first one is to click on Venice on the layer, and once again click, but keep your mouse down. I'm on the left hand side of the mouse, and drag it to the plus sign. Now you'll see that I've got Venice copy. Let's just call that Venice B and W for black and white. B and W. I'm going to release outside of the layers to select that. Now let's go to Venice again, the layer that's called Venice, and let's now right click on the mouse, and we're going to get a whole lot of things, and we'll go into a lot of them later on. Just go to duplicate layer. This is a different way of duplicating, and here I'd like to do Venice filter and just click OK. Now at the moment, they're all 3 exactly the same photographs. So let's first go to Venice black and white and change this to a black and white photo. In order to do that, go to Image, Adjustment, and Desaturate. Or you can do Shift Control U. And I have a black and white photograph. Now let's go to Venice filter. Make sure you're selecting the layer. Go up to Filter, Filter Gallery, and let's just do the first one that comes up, which is a colored pencil. It's artistic and colored pencil. If this is closed, just open it and you will get it. Make sure you click on it. Now, I can't really see what's going on here. And that is because the photograph is so big. So I can go to this little icon, this little minus thing on the left hand side, and just start clicking on it, and I will get the actual photograph. Or I could have just gone to Fit on Screen. So you can either use either one of them. Now, if you want, you surely can go start just playing around with these pencil width and the stroke pressure and the paper brightness, but I'm not going to go into it right now. But if you do want to, you left click on the mouse and you can actually move them, or you can just put in a number here if you want, and then do OK. Now I can see that there are 3 layers that are totally different. I've got Venice, that was the color one, I've got the filter here, and I've got the black and white. I can't see the 2 below the black and white, and that is because in the layers I will always see the top layer that has an eye on it, that is visible. This shows me that this is visible. If I were to click on that eye, I'm showing that now the Venice black and white is not visible anymore, and therefore I'll be able to see the second layer that appears underneath Venice black and white, which would be Venice filter. If I were to take off the eye from Venice filter and lose its visibility, I will see the Venice color picture underneath there. So let's just put back the eyes. And what I'd like to do now is show you another way of seeing the actual layer that you want to see without taking off the eye. It's just a different way of doing it. You can do either one you feel okay with. So make sure that Venice is selected, left click on the mouse, keep it down and drag it up. Now notice that when I come between Venice black and white and Venice filter, I get a blue line, and if I were to release, my Venice would be between those two. Once again, I'm going to click on Venice and put it even higher. Now I can see that blue line on top of Venice black and white, and I know that that's going to be my first layer. So now Venice is my first layer, and Venice black and white is the second, and Venice filter is the third. So that is just a teeny little bit about how to play with layers. Let's close this off, and I'm not going to save the file because I have no desire to. Okay, so now I'd like to open up the file that's called C. So File, Open, or Control O, or Command O on the Mac, and just go and open up C. Now this is a photo that my students took many years back with a camera that we used to use, that the students used to use, and they just used to randomly open up the lens, take it off, and so much dust used to go in. And this is a result of what happens when you're not careful when you're changing your lens on your camera, because the sensors just going to get so much dust on it. Anyway, so that's just a tip to know. What we're going to do now is I'm going to show you, before we start cleaning all this mess up, all these dots up, I would like to show you what a brush is. So first of all, let's go to the background and click on the lock and call that C, and release that, and go down below to the plus sign, and let's open up a new layer. Once we've got the new layer open, make sure that it is selected, and let's just go to brush. Now each tool that I touch here will have something different on the top part over here, and it has to do with each tool that is selected. So if I were to select, say for instance, the type tool, I'll get a totally different thing here, and if I go to brush, I'll get something else that I need. So let's first of all make sure that your opacity is at 100, your flow is at 100, and your smoothing is 0, and the angle is at also 0. Now before we actually go and use the brush, I'd like you to understand what a foreground and a background is. If for instance your foreground, and I'm just showing you this, you don't have to do this, I just want to show you, is red, I would like it to be black. And to reset that, all you need to do is to go to the icon above that and click on it, and you're going to get the actual icon. It's going to be actually black. Now I'm not going to go into depth or detail what the foreground and background is. We'll do just a little bit about it, but there will definitely be a lesson on all this. So once I've got this black and I've got the white in the background and I've got my brush selected and everything is what it's supposed to be over here, let's just click on this arrow and make sure that the hardness is at 100%. So we got the size of the brush on 50, and if by any chance your brush is something other than a circle, just make sure that you've got an actual circle, because you can go into, let's just say this, and have that selected, which is totally different brush. So all we want is actually a round brush that is at 50 pixels right over here and 100% hardness over here. Once again, just make sure that the layer is selected and you can go and click. Now I will take my magnifying glass and go a bit closer so you can see. If you notice, this is a round circle. Let's just go to the brush once again and let's make this not on 100% hardness but on 0 hardness, and let's click here. Now notice what a difference that is, because what's happening here is that there is no harshness, so it's got like what's called a feather. It becomes lighter and lighter towards the out part of the actual circle. Now, in order for me to show you this a little bit better, let's just try something. So let's go and open up another layer and call that layer, which is layer number 2 at the moment, just give it the name of white. Make sure it's selected and go down to these two, the background and the foreground. Now we know that the white part is on the background. So if I'm going to fill this whole area in a white color, I need to know that it's the background that I'm doing. So go to Edit and Fill, or Shift F5. Make sure that the content is on background and not foreground, or not color, or anything else that you've got here. So it has to be on the background because we can see that the background is white. And the opacity should be 100% and mode should be 0, and just click OK. And what we've got here is a white page. So I'm just going to show you, I'm going to go to the zoom tool and Alt on the zoom tool, make sure that I'm going back so you can see that the whole page is actually white. Now the reason I'm getting this white page is because it's the first layer, but if I click on that layer and I put it underneath layer 1, I'm going to see what I have on layer 1, which were these 2 brushes that I created. I'm going to create a third brush, so I'm going to go to brush and I'm going to go to the actual hardness, and let's just put in 50% of hardness, and I'm going to click on that. So the third one, that is the wrong thing to do, sorry about that, undo. I have to make sure that my layer is selected, and I'm just going to click on that. So the first one was 100% hardness, the second one was 0 hardness, and the third one is 50% hardness. Now let's just make sure that we're just doing that. I can go to opacity and change that, and I can go to flow and change that. If you want to try it out, go ahead, but I'm not going to go into that today. I will do a lesson about all the brushes and whatever we need to know in future lessons. Now I'm just going to close the eye of layer 1, which is what we have here, these dots. Let's just call it dot just to make sure. Dots. So we remember what it is. And I'm going to close that eye. I'm going to close the eye of white, and underneath I'm going to have C. Now make sure that you are selecting the C. I'm just going to open up my navigator window so I can see exactly where I am. And if I just take this red part and push it up to the corner, I will see them actually in the corner of the photo. Now we're going to start healing. We're going to do the spot healing brush. So click on that. Make sure you're on, no, just click on that and let me show you how you can change the size of your brush. So at the moment, let's see what we've got. So it's got hardness, it's 100% hardness. The size is 15, and if I look at that, it's that size. Now if I were to click, I just want to take this away, so I'm going to click over here. If I were to click on this, it's actually going to heal that area. I'm going to try and do it close. So let's just take away the grid so I can see what I'm doing. So going to View and Extra or Control H, and we're taking away the grid. I'm going back to my brush, my healing brush, and I've got 15 pixels. The hardness is 100%, and I can click that off and just click on this say. So you can see that that actual spot goes away. But if for some reason this starts becoming overwhelming and you can actually see the line around it, which I can't at the moment, remember that you can go and you can reduce the hardness of the brush. So here I've reduced the actual hardness of the brush. I'm clicking and I'm just moving it around a bit while I'm holding down the mouse. So left click on the mouse, hold it down, and just reduce that spot. Just draw on it. I'm going to go to my zoom tool. I could have just done Z. I'm going to go out, and you can see that I've actually healed that area. So carry on doing that. I'm going to open up the last photograph and show you a bit about healing on that photo. So just close this off. I'm not going to save it. I'm just going to do no. Okay, so let's open up file number 3, which would be the girl. Now, what I don't like about this photo is that I've got these people in the background and I'd like to get rid of them. So I'm going to try and do it with the healing brush. I know that that won't work in every situation, so let's just see where it does work and where it doesn't. I'm going to enlarge the area where these people are right over here. I'm going to go to the spot healing brush. At the moment I'm on 15 pixels, but I can enlarge that and reduce it while pressing on the keyboard. So if I go to the brackets on the keyboard and I click the left side, I'm going to reduce the size of the brush. And if I go to the right brackets and click on that, I'm going to enlarge my brush. So I can play around with that, make it much easier, then keep on going up and changing it over here. And as you can see, when I click, it changes. So once I've done that, let me just check the hardness. At the moment the hardness is at 58, and yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that and let's see what happens. So I'm going to click this over here to get rid of that window. I'm going to go to this guy and I'm just going to go over. I'm left clicking on the mouse and just drawing. And that's a pretty good result. What it actually did, if you notice, it actually took this area and duplicated it onto the other side. Not bad. I do have a little bit of a smudge over here, but I suppose I could change that very easily, and I will show you in a future video how to do that. Now I'm going to try this guy and this lady. So all I'm doing is left clicking on the mouse and going over the area, and let's see what we get. So here it's not as fantastic. I think it was too large an area, and I am getting a bit of a smudge. I'm losing the actual part of these trees, but it's not that bad. I will show you how to deal with this in a future video. I would like to thank you so much for joining me. I had a great time, and please give me a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't done that yet. And just have a great day, and I hope to see you soon in my next video. So thanks, and bye for now.